Hello, everybody. My name is Lewis Lee, and this is Plan and Traffic, where we do this every Thursday night at 9 o'clock Eastern. So tell all your friends. We talk about cars, trucks, boats, anything you put gas in, we talk about it. Got my man Motormouth Ray, and we got Hot Rod Harry from Hot Rod Studios. How you doing, Harry?
I'm doing good, brother. How are you?
Good, good, man. Like I said earlier, I'm glad I woke up.
And I got to
Uh-huh.
tell you, when I saw Lewis put up the blurb for tonight, I looked twice. I said, "Harry, Hot Rod Harry." I'm like, "Oh, this is great." I've been wanting to get in touch with you. I was actually going to write to you about an issue that you addressed on the video that I'm having with my car, and I figured, man, the dude's busy. I don't want to go bother him. But now you fell into my lap, so it's cool.
Well,
That's
you know
good.
what? We're gonna start the show out a little different tonight. We're gonna have Harry give us a prayer. He usually does this at the end of all his videos. So we want to start off our night with Harry giving us some truth.
All right, cool. That was a surprise, but I'm all in. I'm all in, guys.
There we
Lord,
go.
thank you for letting your word be spread. Thanks for blessing us. Thanks for inviting me on with Lewis Ray today to talk about cars and fun and the love and the passion we have for playing with them the way we do, or building them, or sharing them. We ask you, Jesus, just let our words and let your kindness, your love, and your patience, your goodness just radiate through the conversations that we have tonight. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you,
Thank you,
Harry.
Harry.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure.
So I want to start out with saying, me and my wife were traveling with some people, and we stopped at Harry's shop, and he opened up his shop, let us stay there. We spent the night. We walked around like we owned the place. Beautiful shop. Harry really took care of us, and my wife said hello, and she appreciates you.
Tell her I said
And
hello.
Nice.
and Harry gave us a nice Bible. He gives away Bibles all the time, but he gave away a nice Bible, like a quality Bible. We
Well,
appreciate that.
and I'll tell you something. I did go to studiohotrods.com and I actually requested my Bible also because the one I have is ragtag and I kind of like, I want it. Is the Bible does really have the Bibles you give away? Are they really have the red passages in there?
Yeah, yeah,
That's what I wanted. That's what I
yeah.
wanted.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
good. I'm
Yeah,
glad. That's
he didn't
makes.
skimp
I
out.
love. I love doing that, guys. I mean, it's just like, I got a great story about a guy I met. The reason I do it, can I jump into the Bible thing for just a second?
Yeah.
The reason I give away the Bibles, that kind of stuff. I met a cool old cat, right, at a car show. He had like a 32 Deuce coupe, right, and he had a flathead in it, and he had like the fuel injection on it and that kind of stuff. And he was like just sitting there next to his car, and he had a bunch of like tracts and Bibles next to his car. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, why are you here? What are you thinking? Why are you doing this? Right? Because I was a believer. I just wanted to talk to him. Right? And he goes, I go, why do you do it at a car show? What are you thinking? He goes, honestly, I was trying to buy a car from a guy one point in time, and I was negotiating back and forth, and I was drinking, and I was partying, and I was, hooting and hollering, and I was trying to negotiate on this car, and the guy's like, I'm not going to sell you my car because it's just you're not going to want to pay the price, but I do have a gift for you. Let me give you a Bible. And the guy gave him a Bible, and I'm talking like 50 years ago, right? So he said he got this Bible from this stranger that he was trying to buy a car from, and he started reading this Bible, and he started like studying the Bible. And when I was there talking to him, he was there with his son, he was there with his grandson, with his daughter, and there was this beautiful like vibe about these all these lives that were touched because this one guy was trying to buy a car, and he ended up getting given a Bible from a stranger, and it just touched my heart. I was like, because it is the word of God. They said the Bible is the word of God, right? It's living, it's alive, it's got wisdom and knowledge and all kinds of stuff. And this guy was like, and I'm here, I'm admiring his cool old car, right? And he's telling me his story, and it just touched my heart. And then I was like, why not do the same thing, right? Why not share that kind of love with people? If I don't know how many. I mean, we've had a ton of Bible requests lately because some of my socials have been blowing up, and I'm cool. I love it. I actually ordered a bunch right from the publisher so I could get a little better deal because I was buying them on Amazon or wherever I could. So I got a bunch coming in, which I'm real jacked about. But that story that guy told me just touched my heart. It was just like I was like, wow. And it was nothing but guy trying to buy a car and the stranger got to buy. It was just cool. It was just, I just thought it was really, really special.
You know, guys, check me on this because Harry, you just said something that resonated with me. Through my life, I have learned, maybe even later on, but I have learned more things from strangers I passed in, on just a day or in the night, who said something to me or just passed on a thought. And later on, sometimes it was years later, I remembered it and then it resonated and clicked. And I was like, that's a message. That is something I gotta work into my life or carry on or whatever. So I don't know if that's happened with you guys too often, but it sure has with me. And that was one right there, of course, with the Bibles. That's a good one.
Right. That's cool.
So you gotta go. I tell people you gotta go through life. We're all busy. We're all doing everything. And especially I'm in New York, so God help us out here for sure. But everybody's going 9 million miles an hour. But you have to go through life with your eyes open, and you got to see what's in front of you. Sometimes you got to see what's right there, because you're looking over there or over here, and you miss the stuff that's right in front of you. And I know a lot of people that miss the family stuff that's right in front of them. They're like, well, I was so busy. I worked so much. That's a problem. That's going to come back and bite you. So
yeah, it's true. It's true. Well, we get wrapped up in so much stuff. It's hard to see the forest for the trees, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So good stuff. So listen, I know we're going to talk about the impending doom for 2027 with these freaking cameras. I mean, it's all over the place now. And I'm glad you addressed it because you hit it in a way that none of the other. And I've seen that probably on 4 or 5 other channels. One of them is even a guy, Steve Leto. He's a lawyer that I watch.
Oh, cool.
And Steve even hit it. So I mean, everybody's talking about this. But when I saw the clip for your the first one you did when you found the device in your truck, I'm like, oh, this is going to be good. It's gonna be so good. So on that, I was talking to a buddy of mine today I shared the video with him. And he said he looked up where to find the device in his Tacoma. And I think Toyota, he said they put it up under the dash by like the evaporator. Like it was probably one of the first things they put in. So it's really hard to get at. But he did some research and found out that if he disables he'll lose his remote start. And he goes, yeah, I really don't want to lose that remote start. So
let me jump in on that. There's 2 types of remote starts that I've found, right? There's one that works off your key fob, click, 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 right? The one that we use locally. And then there's another one that actually you can use through an app. So if he's using like an app like Toyota's, whatever they call it, right? The virtual there, looking at the cameras, that kind of stuff, he would lose that feature because basically what he's done is taken the car offline. Now, if he has a key fob, right, and he's using it in a local situation, the remote start will probably work just fine.
Okay, that's what I said to him because I know he does use the fob. I said, yeah, double check that. It may not be that may not be correct. That's good to know. But I'm hoping that there's going to be some legislation. And of course, I signed up on you go to studiohotrods.com, and on Harry's site there's a page. You don't even put your full name, just put your first freaking name down. I mean, how anonymous could it be, right?
I don't want the information,
yeah. I told him, I said, first name, email address. I said, that's it. He's going to compile this stuff and you're going to send it up to, I don't know who you're going to send to, I guess somebody, a legislator, I guess. And
Yep. I've got some plans. I got some connections into some pretty high level guys that hopefully will, I don't want to mention their names on here or in public at this point in time, but some top shelf guys that I think would be interested in, helping us move it along, because really what we're trying to do is the First Amendment gives us the right, to peacefully gather. It gives us the right for free speech, right? And talking about, and it gives the news the right to tell the truth, right? So you can't stop any of that. But the last part of the First Amendment is actually the right to petition the government and tell them, right? So that's not illegal or wrong. I did find out though that my last video I put up it didn't get, I don't want to use words because, the AI that's actually monitoring us right now, believe it or not, every word we say, everything we do, every every situation that we discuss at this podcast at this point in time is actually not just an algorithm that actually gets to different people, but every word and every condition is actually part of what will be pushed and what will not be pushed. So I've discovered some things that I'm probably not going to say in detail at this point in time on the podcast, right? But I know for a fact that depending on what you mention or you talk about, radically impacts the reach that you can actually touch with the same exact video. Because I did a test. I took the same exact video, I put it up one way, and it got only like 2,000 or 3,000 views. I put it up another, and it's got in about the same, well, a little bit more time now that I've left them both up. No, the one with only 3,000 views is older than the current one that I put up, and the current one's got like 34,000.
32,000. I'm looking at it
Yeah.
now. Now,
Yeah. Last time that's a little one, but it's the same exact content.
now
I just censored myself.
I watched them both.
Okay.
So I'm going to call. Well, the first one was the one you did where you found the device in your own truck, and that was the DIPT, right? They call it DIPT. It's good to call it a dip because somebody was a dipshit who decided to dip.
Right. Yeah. Driver impairment prevention technology.
Which sounds just like a government term, if you ask me. But
yes, sir.
Regardless, so I watched that, and then I watched the second one, and because I watch YouTube like TV, it is my TV.
Yeah, me too.
Right. So I came back the next day, and I saw you had the third video, which kind of looked like the second video. I'm like, oh, maybe there was more content. So I'm watching. I'm saying, I heard this before. What's going on? And then I saw you went to change the screen a little bit, and you were talking about the censoring and censoring yourself.
Right.
But I was, I wanted to go back and watch the second one again to see what was so bad.
I didn't think it was bad.
I didn't think so either, truthfully.
Right. But what happens is the algorithm, right? Well, what's really different is, you got to remember the difference between Facebook and YouTube, right? With YouTube, it's really about the algorithm being smart and sharing the content and the information with people. On Facebook, it's about people liking it and sharing it. Right. So the people on Facebook are really the algorithm versus the algorithm that calculates and can mitigate, minimize, maximize, whatever, right? The video when I first came out with this is now at 850,000 views, something like that. It's still lighting up. It's still actually going, which is a huge video for me. That's like way out of my biggest one before that was like 300,000 views. So that's way out of scale for what my stuff usually does. My usual car stuff is, anywhere from 2, 3, 5,000, 10,000, 50,000, 30, 60, whatever. They're good, sometimes, but it's not, this is ridiculous. This one is hit like a bombshell. But the thing is I don't know why, it's like, as a car builder, I really do understand how this technology works. And it is kind of like freaking me out. And I'm digging into it even farther and farther. I got some big discoveries that I'm going to be sharing this week on my YouTube channel for tomorrow that I'm trying to put together, because there's more embedded devices and it's not just the telematics unit. Yeah. So there's something called a EDG, which is an Ethernet. I don't know if the words are going to come to me right now. And then there's also the EDR, which is the event data recorder, right? Which isn't even a piece of equipment.
Oh, okay.
It's crazy, right? Because, it's crazy. So sometimes maybe people are going to think I'm a lunatic, Lewis, but, it is what it is, right?
I know back in the 2000s, they had what they called the black box in the car. Because
that's the telematics unit.
Yeah.
That first came out like OnStar was like the first one. They integrated that into the nav and into some other components that were in the car, like 2009, 2010. That was where it kind of started, really.
Yeah. So what caught your ay to start digging in a little deeper? Like this,
Well, because I got a 2022 Shelby truck, right? Now, before this point in time, I've been driving a 2011 Raptor forever. I bought it brand new. I put 200,000 miles on it, right? So I have not owned a new car or newer vehicle in a long, long time. And my Raptor was pretty much I was about done with it. My son needed a truck. I'm like, okay, you know what? I kept searching for a Shelby truck. I wanted the Shelby off road, the 775 horsepower. I wanted the supercharged Whipple on the Coyote motor. I knew exactly what I wanted, but I looked for a long time, and I don't buy new cars because it's just too much of a waste of money to me. You drive them off the lot,
Right.
they drop 10, 20 grand. You went around the corner, stop it. I don't like that stuff, right? So I kept looking for a Shelby truck. I love Shelbys. I have many Shelbys. I was friends with Carol Shelby. So there's a lot of cool stuff that I loved about this truck, but it took me a while to find one. So when I finally got one, I really started looking at how it functions, and I started looking at all the different components that are in it, and I was looking at all the because I want to know. I just want to know. Like when electric cars first came out, when the first Prius came out, and the electric assist, like I bought a Mercury Mariner that was an electric vehicle as well. When they first came out, I took them apart. I bought two brand new cars and I took them all apart.
Oh, man.
Because yeah, dude, I was having fun. I wanted to see how it worked. I wanted to know how they do. As an inventor and as an engineer, I was really just super curious about how does this stuff work? What does it do? How does it actually play together? So, what really got me going on is the fact that I bought myself a lot newer vehicle, and I was really curious to see how a lot of the stuff, and it had like some lights and some stuff on the dashboard that I didn't understand. I'm like, does it have a Wi-Fi connection? Does it have this? Does it have some other stuff? And at the same time, I'm working on integrating that like new, like let's call it a Wi-Fi spot, a paid cell phone service integrated into the Chevelles that I'm buying, because I really like the fact you could remote go into them. Like I use cameras right up in the mirror so you can face forward, they face backwards. I got it in the CarPlay, and I've got the consoles that I built, but I was really thought it'd be cool if I could tunnel back into it and I could start the car, change the heat and the air conditioning on an old car. I could actually look at cameras to see where it's at. I could see where the car was at. So I've been buying some equipment to integrate it back into the old Chevelle. So it's just a combination of me designing and working on implementing wireless technology that's really readily available, and the fact that I bought the new Raptor, right? I mean, the new Shelby, has really just sparked my interest in it. And I just started, surfing into it. I'm like, what is that? Where is that at? Why does it have that symbol? What is that doing? Where does it go? What is that doing? And I started investigating. I was like, wow, check
Yeah.
that out. Check that out. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And that's when I started really, it wasn't like I watched somebody else talking about it all that much. And I'm sure there was a lot of people talking about it. There's a lot of people talking about it now. But for me, it was the integration into the Chevelles and what I was trying to do from a wireless technology perspective. And then bridging into that 2022 Shelby that I got and started taking it apart. I'm like, what is that? Where is that? How does it have a cell phone connection all the time? I don't understand what that does.
It's
Where does it go? Who's
Who's
paying
paying?
for it?
Yeah,
And who's
right.
paying for it?
Right.
I'm not paying for, I pay for a cell phone,
Yeah.
but there's a cell phone in the car. Who's paying for that?
Right.
The data that goes back and forth, it ain't free.
Yeah.
Right.
It ain't free. Who's paying for it, and why are they paying for it? And
Yeah.
why do they want it? And what does it do? Those are all the questions that were going through my head, saying, I don't get this. I just don't understand,
And some of them, once you have a little information, some of the questions become real easy to answer, and a couple
They
are hard.
do.
Yeah, exactly.
They do. Well, I used to have a set of engineers because I built some of the products in my past, but I had a set of engineers, and I always used to tell them, I said, guys, all we got to do is put the problem on the bench and the solution will present itself.
Yeah.
So that was always something that I kind of lived by, how I always kind of thought about things. Because, if you get it in front of you, you can fix it, but you got to see it. You got to know what's going on. If you don't know what's going on, you can't fix it, right?
Funny story. I've worked in engineering in one way or another my whole career. And when I was early on in my career, I worked at a big company, and they brought guys that just came out of college, engineers that came in, and they were about my age, maybe a little older. They had the degree at the time. I didn't. And I was partnered with a friend of mine, and we were both kind of do-it-yourself technicians. We kind of learned the hard way. We learned by doing it. So this guy had to design a circuit, and he gave it to us to breadboard, test, build, and then we were going to go to production. So we do. We breadboard the thing. We tested all that. And we said we found some mistakes, so we changed some components. We tuned it, made it work. Gave it back to him. Gave us our report. And he said, "What did you do? You changed my design." I was like, "Well, yeah, your design didn't work." "Ah, what do you mean it didn't work? It has to work." I'm like, "Who told you that?" "Well, let me go back. Let me refer back to my books." And he's, "Go on, dude. Read your books." I said, "I'm telling you, there was wrong capacitors. You had a wrong inductor. It was just wrong." And now we made it work. Here's the working model. We'll show it to you. He was so pissed off because he just got graduated this, fancy engineering school. Because you guys can't know any more than me. Like, yeah, we probably don't. You're right. But
Apparently.
I don't think he lasted too long. So in that company,
I had a guy that worked for me, and I had some really pedigreed guys, like I think he went to MIT and he had his master's degree in mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, or whatever. Right. And I had 12 engineers at one point in time. Right. I was building this infrastructure, the system, and the cool machines. I put in machines at Walgreens stores. I put in 5,000 locations worth of equipment, distributed equipment that I put in the Walgreens stores. And one of the guys on my team, I had a problem, and we all got together, and I'm like, you know what? Just here's my plan. You're not going to like it. It's not a conventional solution. And I made a plan. And then the one guy, the MIT guy, was like arguing with me. I said, do the math. Just do the math. I'll tell you what, I'll bet you a cheeseburger that my math will work. It's right. Like you're the scientist, you're the pedigreed guy. Do the math. Figure it out. Because my gut says this is going to work. Just do the math. Right. So I came back from lunch, and there's a cheeseburger, a McDouble cheeseburger sitting on my desk.
Yeah.
And a note from him said, "I quit."
See, that's the mentality. These guys are so rigid, and they believe that what they told, what the book said has to work. And I told him, dude, life isn't like that. Like, life doesn't follow a book. To a degree there is, and of course you have the good book, and that's one you should follow. But
right.
The plan can be altered in anything you do. I said, maybe you just have, we built this thing. Maybe we just there was a component out of spec or something. There's so many variables that can go wrong. So you have to be open to that. And a lot of guys aren't, unfortunately. So
and honestly, failure is the road to success, right? You have to fail. People that don't fail, never succeed because they haven't embraced the failure. If you don't try, there's lots of my crazy inventions or ideas that I come up with that, it's like, okay, reverse, let's try it a different way. It didn't work the way I thought it was going to work or hoped it was going to work. I had, believe it or not, like 3 research labs running at one point in time with 3 individual groups that I was overseeing and helping those guys. And, sometimes you don't even know why it works. You just know everything else that didn't work. Yeah. So you just keep trying. You just keep trying. That's like with the hot rods and like the way I build them is I just keep trying different recipes and different solutions. And I kind of just eliminate everything, that doesn't work. That's why I test everybody's products. I look at all the stuff. I road test it. I do a dynamic test on it, and I try to make the best quality car I can. And they're not all perfect, right? They're just as good as I can build them. But, you wouldn't know until you really tried enough to fail, right?
It's funny you say that too, because I've had people come over to the house in the garage and they're looking at pieces of things like, wow. I'm like, that's the field of broken dreams. I said, you know what? That didn't work. So I took it apart and I'm going to use that metal for something else. I'm going to repurpose it because, it's hard to come by. And they're like, wow, really? I had a guy once. This was the best, it happened kind of live on a radio show. I was talking about a friend of mine was into motorcycles, choppers, and real rat bikes. And he was over my house one day, and he saw I had a Hunter ceiling fan laying on the floor, and he goes, "Wow, that ceiling fan will make a really cool air cleaner." I'm like, "Yeah, it would. It would." So I was kind of like, I had to hang by the house for a while. We had my mom here. She was sick, so we were taking care of her. I didn't stray. So I'm out in the garage just doing things. I had to keep my hands busy to keep my mind in neutral. My hands have to move. That's how it works.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make this air cleaner. I'm going to make it. I have a Fiat Spider, so I'm going to make this air cleaner for the Fiat. So I cut out the bottom to fit the Weber carburetor perfectly. I brazed in a couple tubes. I had the thing beautiful. Made the rookie mistake. put it on the car, go to close the hood, and the hood won't close. Oh, you idiot. I'm like, okay. So of course I bring it to the radio show and I talk about it. This is like 15 years ago. And I told the story. So we all got a good laugh about it, like that's the stupidity. But the thing we do when we do it here on this show, we'll fall on the sword. We'll tell you when we do something wrong, because
right.
that can help somebody maybe do something right or not make the mistake. So a guy calls the next week and says, I said, wow, a new caller. He says, yeah, I heard you talking about ceiling fans. You guys fix ceiling fans? I said, well, ceiling fan. I'm like, oh, I know what he's talking about. I said, listen, we'll fix lawnmowers, washing machines. We talk about it all. I said, but no, what you heard was a story about an air cleaner that I made. He goes, well, I have a problem with my ceiling fan. Can you help me? It's like, sure. What do you got? And it was an electrical problem, which I walk right into. That's the world I live in. And I helped the guy out. And he's like, oh, man, thanks so much. That's so great. I'm like, dude, anytime you want.
Never know what you'll get on a car show.
You never know. And Lewis, I'm sure you go through that. We just talked about last week with the leather, how you made a mistake with something.
Yeah.
And you move. It's the people that can't face it and accept it. And I think it's kind of like a pride, or I don't know. Some people, it's a macho thing. I don't know. There's 100 reasons. Some people just can't. They just can't accept defeat. And I said, dude, man, if I couldn't accept defeat, I would have been dead years ago, because
right.
But so we just talked about that last week with one of the Lewis's projects, and it was conquer and overcome and
Right.
conquer.
So Harry, for people that don't know what we're kind of talking about with the systems in the cars, can you explain it a little bit on, what they're doing and what they're putting in and what's happening?
Yeah, so something that caught my eye was 2000. There was a bill signed into law, right, by President Biden. That was in 2021. It was a mandate for driver monitoring cameras as part of the law that all automakers that are going to sell brand new cars in the United States had to comply with. So,
Harry, wasn't that one of the things you had a lip sync on the second video?
Yeah. I was talking about, because now these cameras that they're talking about putting in the cars, most people don't understand. When you think of a camera, you're thinking of like the cameras we're using right now. The cameras that they're actually using are much more sophisticated. Like, it's a thermal camera or an IR camera or whatever, right? So, the whole idea is by integrating the camera into the cars, right? They can integrate true AI into the cars, right? Because you're going to go back to why? Because they're trying to create this DIPT, right? Which is driver impairment prevention. That's the bad word. Prevention
Right.
technology. They're trying to stop you. I feel like it's the Minority Report, like with Tom Cruise, right?
Yeah.
But before you commit a crime, we're going to make sure we stop you, right? So the theory is, and the product is, and the legislation is, as far as I read and understand, is that these driver facing cameras, now they're in a lot of cars already right now. If you have Blue Cruise or driver assist and any of that kind of stuff. So there's probably 30%, 40%, 20%. I don't know what the number is. I'd have to look it up. But these cameras already exist actually in the cars right now, right? But the mandate by 2027, and it looks like they're not going to hit it. I think they're going to push it back to 2028. But, that's neither here nor there, right? The bottom line is the government wants these surveillance cameras mandated in the car. For what reason is the question you got to ask yourself, right? So, I've got a friend that has a Traverse, and I'm kind of focusing on her Traverse this week because she's really upset she bought this car, and it's like, it basically is watching her, and she doesn't even have the cruise, the Blue Cruise or whatever you call it in a GM. I forget what the name is, right? Because everybody kind of calls it something different. Mm-hmm. But so basically, the thing that gives me the biggest heartache is the integration of the AI. It's not the camera that's giving me the heartache or the stomach ache, right? It's the fact that once you integrate this type of AI, the driver impairment prevention technology means they watch you, and it's really, there's a lot of people that are fear mongering to get attention on social media. If you watch some of the things with people talking about it, you know, you guys know the term fear mongering, right?
Oh,
They
sure.
want to get attention. So the world's going to end. You have to watch this and you have to do something right now. I hate that stuff, right? What we want to do is be aware of it. We want to be able to understand what it is, where it's deployed, how it could be changed, what can we do about it? Do we like it? Do we not understand it? But what I'm trying to get people to understand is, you know, really the AI that is going to be able to be integrated into each one of these vehicles is really coming to a whole different level once all these cameras actually are in place. And then I started looking at the cameras, I started looking at the transmission and the data that's actually, you know, that's the TCU, the TCU, which
Right.
is the telematics unit. So that's the unit that's the cell phone. So every car basically has a cell phone that you don't pay for, that you bought, that you don't own, right? That's actually sitting in the car that squawks your data and your information. General Motors got sued in California over it, and they got litigated over it. I think it was a $7 million or $12 million lawsuit. They settled very quickly in California like 2 weeks ago, and they paid their fines and that kind of stuff because the California state was saying that the privacy was being invaded. They didn't have the rights to actually sell and have the information that they actually had. Now, I didn't read the case. I'm not a lawyer, right? All I know is they sued them. The state of California sued. They paid the bill. They gave the money to the state of California. The question that goes in my head is like, why not give it to the people of California that were being
Yeah.
surveillanced? You know,
Right.
right? So it's just well, who gets the money? The state of California does. How does
don't
that
do it.
work?
Yeah.
Right? What? Right? I mean, you're violating our citizens. Pay us,
Right.
and we'll keep the money.
Yeah.
You know, but that's a separate issue. So, you know, the AI integration is really, really, really the part that gets really funky, right? Because if, you know, there's other patents I designed, believe it or not, guys, in 2008, I designed a biometric interface for a car. My idea was using like thumb scan technology. That was all that was really available in 2008, right? You'd have a thumb scanner in your car, and you know, if a valet was taking it, you could set it up, let the valet take it, or your kid was taking it, or he was a new driver. It could have governors. It could have, you know, situations where it wouldn't let you go super fast or drive really crazy or whatever. So I didn't apply for a patent on it at that point in time, but I did come up with the idea. I have about 38 patents in my name, something like that, that I've applied for over the years. I don't really even renew them or go after them, or 38 claims. I don't remember how many individual patents, but the thing that is concerning for me, and the thing that I'm trying to make people aware of, is like, you know, and get people to move, right? You know, let's do something like my shirt, right? This is the my new shirt that I just made.
Oh, Freedom Fighters. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
Freedom Fighters, Studio Hot Rods, Freedom Fighters with an angry car.
Nice.
Yeah, right. But I mean, if we can sign a petition, maybe we get the people in the government to actually recognize it and agree with us, right? And make it public. So let's get it out there and make sure that it's public and people know the facts about it. You know, the second piece is, you know, really, we do have a choice on if we want to buy cars or not, too, right? So that's the one thing that guys got to realize that they have in their control. If we decide we don't want to buy these cars, in the US, there's about 16.5 million cars actually sold into the US market annually, right? There's about 290 million drivers in the United States. There's about 325,000 licensed vehicles in 325 million licensed vehicles in the United States. There's like 1.2 cars for every licensed driver that's even out there at this point in time. Our saturation level is huge. And you know, if you take care of cars, they do continue to last. They're not all just junk, right?
You know, Larry, I've been preaching to people to buy an older car now, especially with this stuff coming on. So we've been talking on this show. I practice what I preach. I just bought a 31-year-old Toyota. I said, I bought an old Camry. I said, you know what? The cassette and the CD both work.
Right?
It doesn't look at me. It doesn't even have ABS brakes. It's like perfect.
Huh.
And the other thing I want to know is, man, you mentioned T-shirts. Your new shirt is great. You come up with some great stuff. George Washington playing bass. Where did you know, Abe Lincoln playing lead. Where has that been? I want to go see it.
Right?
Oh, geez, that's great.
I just, you know, that stuff just speaks to me. I was wearing one one yesterday. It was like called the Pompeii Run. You know, it was like 75 AD, right? You know, because you know, the volcano blew and all that kind of stuff. So I got some that say "suck my wake," you know, I love that movie, John Candy, The Great Outdoors. You remember
Right,
that
right.
boat?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
still gonna build a boat like that. I'm looking for one. So if anybody knows of one, let me
Dan
know.
Aykroyd, yeah, I think it was Dan.
Yeah, he's like, we're not driving a pontoon boat.
Right,
He
right.
pulls
right.
up with "Suck My Wake."
So the T-shirts are phenomenal. The George Washington blue, like George Washington on base. I can see that. You know, it's like, yeah, that was so cool.
That's great.
That's So kudos on the shirts. I think they're phenomenal.
It's fun. It's
Yeah,
I'm just having fun with it.
So I would like to support your movement there. So I'll get some of the if you can send me some graphics and stuff, I'll put them on my sites and push
Okay,
them.
cool.
Yeah, we'd like to do that for sure.
Cool. That'd be appreciated. You know, I really to get the awareness out there without fear mongering people, right? You know, we don't want to do that. And you know, I don't want people like trying to get aggressive with like hacking the technology that's in the cars, that kind of stuff, because that's a really slippery slope, right?
Yeah.
Don't do that stuff. You know, it's a bad idea, right? To try and do any of that kind of stuff because you could immobilize a car, you could cause a problem, right? So if there's people that are thinking about that type of stuff, just stop. Don't do that. Don't try to do that. Let the system work for us the way that it can work. But if people mobilize a little bit to sign a petition, get it in front of the right people, and then, you know, hopefully the people that actually care about it, whoever the legislation is that's in place, right? Hopefully we get that attention and they'll be like, yeah, you know, we kind of make sense because we got to mitigate the AI that's actually being integrated into our life and our world. You guys, everybody talks about how fast it's moving and how much it's changing and how it's going to affect us. This one, you know, do you guys remember the song Red Barchetta by Rush?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
Dude, you know, my uncle had a farm right before the motor law, right? You know, and really, if you think about AI being integrated into our cars and the tracking and all the things that are going with it, not to freak people out, not to be an alarmist, but you know, where does that stop and where does that end? You know, well, you know, you didn't pay your bill on that car, it doesn't run anymore. Oh, you owe back taxes on this, so we're not going to let you drive anymore. Oh, you've been driving too much. You don't actually economically really handle or manage your car very well. Oh, by the way, your car has got a warning light, and I don't think we should be letting you drive it. Where does this end and where does it stop? You know, here's a really cool data point that you guys probably don't know. And I do a lot of research because I am a knucklehead, right, with this stuff because I'm very interested in it in Illinois, right? You know, like what percentage of speeding tickets, right, or red light style camera versus are issued in Illinois by automation, right, from monitoring versus police officers on the road? What do you guys think it is?
You know, we have that here in New York. I'd say 60% or better.
Yeah. Well, Lewis, you got a guess?
I would probably say 60%.
Okay. In Illinois, from the stats I was looking at recently, it's over 85%.
I'm not surprised.
And it's not getting pulled over by the police.
No.
It's an automated ticket for a red light camera. It's a speeding ticket. It's a this, it's a that. And now take that to a different level, guys. Like I was driving, I worked out. I'm sorry. Do you want
to say we're happy to get those tickets because we get them in the mail. You write the check. There's no points, and you say, "Oh, good, I beat the system." But meanwhile, now you got cameras doing the job as a police, which, you know, it's stacked against us. You got every corner. You can't.
It's a cash grab.
Absolutely.
You know what it is, and it really so. You know, in St. Louis and in New Orleans, you know, they tried to actually use facial recognition to take it up another level, right? Yeah. So they got kind of busted and pushed back on that, but it's very easy. The technology is out there in those cameras and in the systems that have, you know, facial character recognition is not a very sophisticated piece of software, right? It's got a database. It knows a pattern. Each one of us, you know, everybody looks different, right? You know, Ray, you look like you know, Lewis, you look like you, I look like me, right? It's very easy to actually have that type of sophistication and technology to be integrated into the car. So, you know, like there's a patent by Ford or somebody like, you know, you walk up to your car and it will just unlock for you because it knows who you are.
Yes.
That already exists and patent. You won't need a key to start your car.
I had rented a Caddy about a year or two ago, a beautiful Caddy, and I found it. I walked up to the car in the door. I heard it unlock. Like, what?
Yeah.
What the hell's going on here?
Hello.
Yeah,
I had a
Hello.
Corvette. I had a Corvette that it when I'd walk up, it would unlock, but it was the remote.
That's a key fob. So that's that's called a proximity. You know, that's a proximity key fob. So basically how that works is the car generates a signal, right? And in the key fob that you have in your pocket, it can tell how far you are away. And when you get in within a certain distance, it reflects that signal back at a certain frequency. So it gets received into the car and then it just opens, right?
Yeah.
But what I'm talking about is cameras outside the car that will actually know it's you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're walking up, Lewis, and it's not going to just open. It's going to set the seat position, your radio station, and the air conditioning the way you like it.
So I like that kind of stuff.
I feel like I'm always going to be 8 steps behind you, Harry. But just to jump back again, Red Barchetta, and then you got to go YYZ. I mean, come on. Yeah.
Right?
Oh, there's that for Rush. And I forgot the second point I had, but yeah, this is. Oh, I know. I've been talking to a lot of people about this, and they're talking about the steering wheel sensors now too. To sense, well, they say, well, if your hands are sweaty, you must be nervous, or maybe you're inebriated or under the influence.
I don't know of any of those actually installed. I haven't seen that actually installed or in a car yet myself, but it's definitely in Ford's patent.
I heard it right, and Toyota too.
Yeah, and Toyota. You know, so when you think about it, now go think about the cameras we were talking about earlier, infrared, right, or thermal imaging cameras, right? It can tell if you're sick. It can tell if you are, are elevated. You know, like I got a lot of friends that drive very angry in traffic. That car's going to shut down on them.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So you know what? Maybe you are sick. You know what? Maybe you're trying to drive yourself to the freaking hospital.
Right.
The car's going to say, sorry, you won't start. Or maybe you're being chased and you get in your car and you're nervous, you're sweating, sweat's pouring down, your eyes are looking crazy, you're trying to start the car. It says, nope, sorry, you must be under the influence of some kind of drug.
Right. Yeah, the driver impairment prevention technology has been enacted. You're going to have to why don't you take a few breaths, Hal?
Right. Meanwhile, the guy coming up behind you with the gun or the knife or the bat, and it's like maybe my last breath.
But here's a we got to take this data point too. There's a TV show or a TV movie that came out, The Crash. Have you guys seen that?
I haven't. No.
It's on Netflix, right? You guys should look at it. It's called The Crash. And what happened was a woman was driving her car, right? And her boyfriend was with her. And the whole documentary and the whole thing, I haven't seen it myself. I've read highlights. I'm going to watch it. But the whole thing is she went to jail for killing her boyfriend driving the car. They said they had all the information for where the car was moving back and forth and she was looking for a place to do it. And the event data recorder in the car, right, that we're going to talk about in a little bit. That's another level. So you got the telesmatics is the cell phone buried in the car. The event data recorder, the police were able to actually access that and see that she never hit the brakes and she had the throttle like 100% depressed doing it. So she blew her car with her boyfriend in the side, full speed, and killed him. Mm-hmm. And now she's in jail because they used the EDR, the event data recorder inside the car. So there is positive things, right? Like if that was my son or that was my family member or that, I want the police to have access to that.
Sure.
I really, right? Because I don't want somebody getting away with murder because they calculated and did it. Now that's a very rare event, right? Mm-hmm. But it's still valid. So that's why, I think we got to tread cautiously on the application of the technology. That's the thing that is a challenge, right?
I have a close friend who is a forensic investigator, and he does work for insurance companies. And he uses that technology, and he used it back in the mid 2000s. There was an event where there was some kids drag race, and one kid, it was a BMW and a Corvette. And of course, they had this story. Everybody was innocent. Of course, somebody did get hit and killed, but the driver said, "Nah, it wasn't me." He extracted that data he had the black box, and his company was one of the only few that were able to actually extract and read the data. So when he went to court and he presented his case, well, I guess he was he wasn't lawyer, but he was questioned. And he said, "No, I have I have information that could prove exactly what happened the night of the crash." And the defense lawyer is browbeating him up and down. How could you say for sure? Were you there? No, I wasn't there. Do you know anybody was there? No, I don't remember who was there. So how can you say? He goes, "Well, I have the data." What data? He goes, "The data from the car." How would you get data from the car? They had a sidebar. They go into chambers and the judge says, "Okay, tell me what's going on because this is going to become a circus and I want to avoid that." And he said, "Your Honor," he handed her the folder. He says, "We have this information from this box. It's the telemetrics from this box." And he printed out graphs and it showed in graphical form the acceleration. And like in that case, the deceleration is when it hit the other car. There were no brakes hit. And basically, it was damning evidence. And she showed it to the defense attorney. She goes, "I'm not an engineer. I don't think you are either. You have any questions about this?" He says, "Yeah, can we change our plea?" And now he goes to court all the time with this stuff. And guys the scammers are starting to get the word that, you're not going to get over. There's guys out there who can actually.
Right. So, yeah. So the bridge between your privacy, right? Because we have a right to privacy. The bridge between our privacy and the telecommunications that's going out through the car is really the area that's probably the most sensitive and the area that's probably going to need the most, management, the most, we need our brightest guys on that stuff to be able to, navigate through that because, the thing is, digital marketing and digital awareness, right? And the AI in the cars is just radically changing the landscape of what it's going to mean to drive a car and what it's going to mean to actually be on the road, like what we grew up with. I was born in, many moons ago, right? And we grew up with the freedom and the enjoyment of having the cars and be able to do what we wanted to do with them. That is definitely radically going to continue to change, right?
Yeah.
It's just going to radically continue to change, whether it's, it's cameras or telematics or EDRs or the Ethernet. What's the new one that I found? I just discovered this like 2 days ago. Ethernet data consolidation something. It's the protocol to actually take the information from the different computers that are actually in the car and actually put it in a format that they can serve up or be able to send out. It's just it's some weird stuff.
I don't know if this is the right guy, but Sean Duffy may be the guy you want to get that petition to. He's the he is our Secretary of Transportation. Maybe he's the guy, Sean Duffy. He's a good dude, from what I understand. He's a nice guy, but that's his job. So maybe start right at the top, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, we got to start a movement. We got to move it across the country. We got to get everybody to sign this thing. And car clubs. I mean, I go to car club meetings with different guys. I can bring the information to them, and I'm sure, like if I had a list, I'm sure they would sign it. Because guys, we're all
there's petition services, right? So there's different companies that will offer service to take the signatures and the details, right? Because I don't want that responsibility. I don't want to have everybody's information. I don't want it. I don't want to be a part of it, right? Because I'm sitting here talking about privacy and like, hey, can I have your address and social security number? I know I don't want to touch that, right?
Right.
So my form that's on studiohotrods.com right now is super, super simple. All it is first name, email, contact information, and then any comments that you want to leave. So people can leave comments of what they're going on, or if they know somebody, or if they have any suggestions, I read them all as best I can. We've had about this week, I launched it on Saturday of this week. We've had about 400 people sign up, maybe 500 people sign up so far for the petition. Obviously, I'm looking at 2 of them, right? But it's a great start, right? We got to start somewhere. Does it go? I don't know. I think we got to have some real volume to actually get real attention, but hopefully we can spread the word, right?
But we can, that's what we do. We can, all of us have different outlets and places where that we interact with, and we'll all be a part of it for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, it affects all of us, right?
Yeah. Let's see. I'm just thinking, what tab was that on your site where you have that? That was.
It should be right on the main page. If you go to the home page,
I'm looking at it now.
It should have a logo just like this.
No, it says, "Do your brakes suck?" Oh, there you go. I got it. I got it.
Yeah, well, that's my brake booster, my boost master, I called it, that I invented.
Right. I will. Let me see here. See if I can go down. Let me see what I can do here.
Okay. Okay. After this segment, we're gonna move into your shop because man, I really enjoyed being there at your shop. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
hear a little bit about that and some of the new items you are creating.
Yeah, I'm always doing something, right?
All right. So just to show people, this is the page on Harry's website. It couldn't be simpler. It literally says first name, email, and comments. And of course, you don't have to, and then bang, blue, count me in, and you got it. That's all you got to do. That's all you have to do on Studio Hot Rods. This is the page. Piece of cake. Like you said, it was right on the home page, right there. If we scroll up, there's Do Your Brakes Suck. But you scroll down, there it is, and you're in. So that's all people have to do. And I will be sharing that with everybody I talk to, of course. So yes, thank you, Harry.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, cool. Cool. Well, thanks. And I appreciate that. Hopefully we can make a difference together, right?
Well, that's
Oh,
what it
yeah.
takes. It's yeah. I mean, most what do they say? Many hands make easy work.
Yeah, light work.
Yeah, that's how you do it. It's you don't try. Without Atlas, I know I'm not. I
Yeah.
can't lift the world.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on towards your shop. So tell the people what you do at your shop and what your like your specialty.
Yeah, so I kind of specialize in A-body cars, right? So I specialize in Chevelles, just because I like the cars a lot, and I came up with the idea of remanufacturing them rather than restoring them. So I have a hot rod shop, started in 2015. I built a lot of specialty cars, and they were all one-offs, and it takes a long time, and I lost a lot of money building custom cars for people because I thought I could do it faster or better or cheaper or whatever, and I always tried to build to a price. And what I realized is I really couldn't do a very good job of that. So I come from a background of recycling, right? Like in 1988, I was one of the first guys in the world to recycle and remanufacture laser printer cartridges. So
Oh,
the laser printer cartridges that were designed to be thrown away, I designed a way to recycle them and remanufacture them, right? So I was very successful. I enjoyed that business for a long time, and I was very heavy into recycling. Um, and along the way, that business just kind of went through its whole cycle. Most of the stuff is built in China. During the Obama administration, it really got changed where the Japanese, I mean the Chinese manufacturers came into big, huge business. I had huge customers in the United States buying product from me, like Staples, right? I was their main supplier for Staples, and like the pricing and the competition, I just couldn't compete with on that stuff because the Chinese philosophy on a lot of products like that, when it's a really highly established market, what they'll do is they'll just come in and sell it all for a loss until they can get all the players out, like the U.S. manufacturers players, and then they just take over the business, right? So then they start feeding it and up the prices, do what they want to be able to do because they've controlled the market at that point in time. So I got my little business and competing with a China backed federal, and I had a big business. We were at our peak, recycling like 50,000 cartridges a month. It was big business, right? But my point in that is the cars, right? Building one-off cars was very difficult because every time I got to design it, figure it out, come up with a plan, build the cars. So I came up with the idea of remanufacturing the Chevelle. So I basically take a shell of a car and I start with really good cars, and then I disassemble the whole thing, and I put all new wires, all new controls, every bearing, everything that moves, turns, carries power, carries electricity, everything that operates inside that car is all actually brand new. And then on top of that, I put a 3-year, 36,000-mile warranty on it. So I can do it more efficiently because I'm focusing on the A-body cars. I understand how to do the suspensions, how to do what I want with them, how, what product works the best, what spring rates I want. I understand what ride quality I'm looking for. So sticking with like one format of car like the A-bodies right now for me has worked out really good. And as I come up with all the ideas and that I put into the cars, I actually make them available, whether it's, like that brake booster that was on the website when we looked at the Boost Master, I call it. everybody struggles with high performance cars with enough vacuum to run the brakes correctly. It's just a fact of life, right? You put a cam in your car, you got more horsepower and you got no vacuum, right? So
Right.
electric pumps that are loud and, some of that other stuff. So I came up using a vane pump that is actually used by General Motors for the ZL1, Camaros or whatever that is. It's using a Corvette. So basically I'm using a vane pump and a vacuum switch and a relay, and I put in a couple different circuits together, and I hook it right onto the booster, the boost assist that's actually there. So, the cool cars is the cool thing is that I'm building the cars, but the fallout of all the technology, of all the ideas I come up with for the cars, I sell as parts to other builders that are kind of specialized. Now, a lot of people, my worst review, like sometimes on my website, is that people get mad at me like I don't make parts for a Mopar or I don't make parts for a Volkswagen, right? I
Right.
make parts that are kind of specialty for the A-body cars, right?
Yeah. That's your specialty. Yeah.
Yeah.
But where are we?
We lost Lewis.
Did we? What happened to Lewis? Where the hell did he go? Let me see. Let me see if we can retrieve him. Let's see. I guess he got up and walked away. he must.
I must have really ticked him off.
I
Sorry about that. My dog was chasing the cat.
Oh,
I thought it was a hoodlum in the yard, but it was a cat.
well, you got to go out and check. So,
Yeah.
all right. I guess it's a good time, Harry, to ask you my question. A few episodes ago, you did a video on specifically front tires on the A bodies,
Yeah.
and especially the lower profile.
Oh
tires.
yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
So I'm afflicted by that right now because the problem was I bought a set of wheels and tires from a guy that had them on a car similar to mine, so I installed them, and they're 17s. And the problem is, I don't like the front tires are 245 40s,
Okay.
and I want more of a sidewall. And the problem is, though, on my car back in the day, I could only run like an F70 on the front of that car without it hitting it hits the rear of the wheel opening. That's
Right.
So, the 17s fit. I never had a tire that big, even on the back of the car back in the day. To tell you the truth, that was kind of ridiculous. So I was thinking maybe a 16-inch rim would afford me a taller sidewall, but I don't have access to rims and tires. I can just go mounting them and trying them on the car. So what's your method for determining what will fit without making an expensive mistake?
That is a slippery slope, my friend.
Oh, I know.
That is a difficult thing because you got backspace, you got width,
Uh-huh.
you got the overall size of the tire. I've got one of my customers right now. I'm working on building him a car, and he wants these tires and rims to go on there, right? And I measure it and look at it, but at the end of the day, I make my recommendations. My recommendations are pretty conservative. I want sidewall.
Yeah.
I want, because nothing feels and drives as well as I have found with a bigger sidewalls on these old A-body cars, right? It just it gives you more of a fluid ride. It's a heavy car, right? And I don't personally like the feel of a really small sidewall because not only are they going to ride rougher because you don't have the movement in it, right? They hunt the road, right? They're always kind of moving left and moving right because of the design of them. It's just the way it is, right? And a lot of technology isn't really applicable in the application with a really small sidewall without having huge amounts of like caster. Like a new Corvette has probably 7.5 to 8 degrees of caster in it, right? So it's going to make your wheel want to like stay straighter. But if you don't have that level of caster, that's the layback of the wheel.
Right.
You're always going to have your car hunting on you. Like with I use a special double upper adjustable upper control arms that gets me to about 5.5 degrees of caster, which is a lot because a stock A body car would only get like 1.5.
Yeah,
right? So, because it's got the studs that stick through the thing that mounted the chassis, right?
Right.
So, you know, you can get better rides on some more advanced technology cars with huge amounts of caster in it, with a little bit smaller sidewalls, but typically our conventional old cool hot rods don't have that ability in
Yeah.
doing it. I'm supposed to go out. I got invited out to Art Morrison. So the owner actually invited me out to come out and see as he releases a new OBS truck chassis, which would be pretty cool coming up. And he does some really good designs in the amount of caster that they lay into it. But if you've got a conventional caster and you're gonna try and run a real small sidewall, that combination is just gonna be really, really tough to manage.
I don't actually. My car handles really well. I'm using Global West stuff. I'm using
Okay.
their control arms,
Yep.
QA1 shocks. I'm using their springs, and the car literally makes right turns. I've never had an A body run so good. It's just I myself would like a little more sidewall because, although the car handles good, there's always a trade-off. There's no free lunch. If you get on one end, you're going to lose it on the other. And I drive with my friends, and I work on guys' cars. I just did a big job on a guy's 442 last year, and took that car out. And I was like, oh man, these cars just float. They just float, and they're more comfortable. My friend's got a GTO. We go out in his car and I say, wow, Kevin. I said, now we get to relax because we're driving in a comfortable car. I said, no, when you come with me, you kind of hang it on because it's more of a Battleship Galactica. But, but we make those crazy those crazy right angle turns. So I know Global West, they call their stuff a negative G suspension. They built in more camber to offset the complexities of that A body suspension. And it works. I mean, what they did, I dealt with Doug at Global West, and those guys are kind of geniuses out there. But yeah, so I guess what I got to do is just I got to hunt and find tires and, just do a trial and error. I can find them. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Well, and every manufacturer, whether it's Global West or, QA1 or whatever, they have their own spring rates and their own setups that they recommend. And I don't follow any of it, honestly.
Yeah.
I think the spring rates are all wrong. That, because I'm looking for cornering, of course, but I'm also looking for that comfort of driving that car. If I'm going to drive that car cross country, because that's what I kind of do. My cars are really designed to be comfortable, to be able to drive cross country. I took my 69 Chevelle out to Deadwood, right? And it was just under a skosh under 1,000 miles, 900 miles, 920 miles, something like that. And I did it one day, one drive, no problem.
Wow.
And I didn't even stop. Yeah. Because it's that comfortable for me to drive.
That's great. That's great.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's a long haul.
Listen, I just drove to North Carolina. I just did a 700-mile drive in one shot. Yeah, I could have gone a little further, but it wasn't in my hot rod. That's for sure. It was in a terrain.
It makes a big difference,
Yeah.
It does, right? So, but like you said, there's no free lunch, right? So, like if you want a car that's going to be great on the track, right? Having a small sidewall is going to be a great addition for you, but there's a lot of things that, in my opinion, you're going to give up to when you do that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
yeah,
I mean, if you want to handle those corners like it's on rails, I got Pirelli P0s on a Saleen Mustang. I know what it's like. I get it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? I can run over a dime and tell you what year it was.
Yeah. Exactly. Right.
And the thing really handles like it's on a rail. It's amazing. But the way it drives, not so much.
Yeah, I think the guy I bought the wheels and tires from was thinking the same thing because he put I have G-forces on the front, the G-force radial, which is a ass kicking tire, and but all right, so I'm back to square one. Lewis, is Brian in the house?
Yes, we got Brian. So usually at the half-hour mark we bring in the fellas, but we've been talking. It's already been an hour.
Been
So
talking over an hour.
This is our usual gang members.
Oh, Justin.
What's up, guys?
Hey guys, how you doing?
Justin from American Gas, a hot rod shop, Harry, up your way. Justin
Okay.
is the builder, and Brian, of course, is a
Legend is the
master
word you're looking
builder
for.
in hiding. Now he's a tool man, but still Still master builder.
I'm 30 miles from ground zero, so I'm really careful. I got a lot of black SUVs driving around, and always on the hunt. So we have to be careful. Usually, when I start talking, we have to go offline because. But going back, there's a lot. I mean, there's so much that that you're playing around with that has been around for quite a while. I was once a Porsche technician. And way back in the late 90s, we started having stuff in cars that was not explained to us technicians.
Yeah, right.
That we would come across on the scanner. And, of course, the scanner back then was something that had 3 buttons and it was phone dial-up. You know what I'm saying? It was very barbaric. But I remember going to class one time, and I was like, hey, instructor, I go for a road test and I come back and I got this code I can't get rid of on a car, and he's like, well, what's the code? And I said, well, it's not the typical PO number. It's this number here. And he goes, oh, yeah, you'll never get rid of that. You're bouncing it off the rev limiter.
Oh,
so they knew right then and there.
You knew what you were doing. Yeah.
They knew what I was doing. So and I said, well, what's that for? He goes, well, if a customer comes back and says, the car just blew up, we know what he's doing. So they already, the Germans were already involved in this.
Oh, yeah.
Way before it started getting more and more. I mean, like I said, this stuff's been around. We just had a murder case solved from a Tesla that was sitting on the corner that ID'd a shooter in the streets.
Right. The car ID'd the perp. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Cameras.
So, the Teslas, I go into a Tesla shop and it's the strangest thing in the world because I'm like, hey, aren't you going to talk to the customer? No, we don't talk to the customer. We ask the car where it's been.
It's true.
Do you need an
It's
oil
true.
change? Yeah.
And it literally, they punch into the car, they type it in, and they said, of course, the guy will say, oh, it's never been in the body shop. And this thing comes up and says, oh, well, you were in the body shop in Houston, Texas. So they know. The cartel's on you.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
my car's not smart enough to do that.
Not yet, but but like he was saying, these cars, like you said, it has a phone in it because the car will send you a message saying, hey, I need an oil change. So, it's one thing if they're going to use it for good versus evil. And unfortunately, human nature, we always turn evil. Somebody wants the power, and that's where I have the problem with. But, it's interesting, that you were talking about people messing around, when Chrysler came out and they had the auto stopping or auto braking and they had a problem. And, again, nobody wanted to pay for the technology or pay for the scanners. I sell scanners that recalibrate the stuff. Anytime that you have a front end off of a car or replace a side mirror, you have to calibrate this stuff. And guys don't want to spend the money because the customer doesn't want to pay for it. And so they get in there and kind of play around with it. But this is what happened was when early on somebody got on the back, they dove through the back side and turned the light out and turned the system off. Well, the customer went down the road and killed himself. And the family went after Chrysler until Chrysler got in there and said, somebody turned our system off. So that's why we now have a third party or a watchdog where you have to register your scanners to a third party because they got to see who was in there last.
Wow.
And, and of course, like I said, I got to really watch how I say this. It's great when the government says, oh, well, we're going to have a system, OBD2. Remember, we used to have OBD1. And they said, oh, we're going to regulate this and we're going to test and we're going to make it so that you know what's wrong. Well, then they got into OBD Global because the manufacturers expanded that and they kept the information themselves. The Germans are terrible. They don't want to share any of that information with anybody. Now, they'll do the global part because by law, they have to sell cars in the United States. And So then it got so complicated. Again, they get so complicated. Instead of just saying, "Hey, this is for the act of goodness," everybody has to be Darth Vader involved in this.
So the good thing is the cars that Justin builds at American Gas or Hot Rod Shop, they don't talk to you. They don't report back. They don't say nothing.
Oh, I mean,
because
there's
they
two
know
pipes
better.
that talk.
What's
Usually the two pipes, one out each side,
Yeah,
usually
and
talk.
until they crank up the ethanol even more, and you got more problems, right?
Right.
Right.
I mean, that's our big thing right now here, outside of the cranking up. They're getting ready to crank up the ethanol more.
You guys have acquired one more Hemi out that way.
Who?
That Willie's Gasser that we just finished
Oh,
up.
me?
Oh yeah.
Out of Maryland.
Oh,
yeah?
mine. Okay, cool. That's
Yeah.
a beautiful car. Yeah, beautiful car.
That's a pretty neat one.
How is that
Yeah.
set up? How's the build configured?
It's on one of our chassis, coilovers and coilovers and ladder bar in the back, Speedway straight axle, leaf springs in the front. It's got an old DeSoto Hemi that customer had built, and it's an all steel car, which is really cool.
You know what
But-
what area of Maryland it's going being delivered to, or
I'd have to look, but it's cool. He actually came to the shop yesterday and then drove it back.
Nice.
Wow,
So
that's a hell of a ride.
heck
So
yeah,
that's something that Harry does, which I think is great. Terry did this with his Chevelle, where he bought the Edelbrock kit to brace the chassis. But Harry does the chassis braces down the sides and also does longitudinal braces across to stiffen the whole chassis. And I've seen the video where he's standing on that damn chassis, the stock chassis, everything's bouncing up and down, moving around. And he stands on the modified one, and dude, yeah, that's
stiff.
moving. Very nice.
Yeah, it's amazing how flexible those original chassis really are.
Yeah.
You know, the body mounts when the bushings are blown out and that kind of stuff, that thing's moving all over the place on them, right?
oh yeah,
Yeah. Sure.
So
And with the horsepower we're putting in them, it's got to be, as stiff as it can. The one thing I like about doing the chassis the way we do, I actually made my own kits for it because I started with like the Speed Tech kit, like for the A-body cars, which is okay. But I put my first one together and dude, I was like, this doesn't work. I had the engine and the transmission and I had the exhaust all the way running out the back and I'm rolling it across the shop, right? And it's got this little dinky little cross member in it. I'm rolling across the shop and I'm watching the exhaust go like this.
Yeah.
Bouncing up and down, and I'm looking at it going, why is that moving?
Yeah.
That shouldn't be
Right.
moving,
Yeah.
right? I just stiffened the chassis. That shouldn't move at all. I put my foot on the back of it, and the whole thing's going boink, 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 and I'm like, that ain't cool.
nope.
No, I did all that work for what? No.
Nothing.
Yeah, right. So then I just redesigned off of that idea, right, and just put more gussets in it. But then I put like I call the wiggly bar and the bat wing in the back, and then I make the cross member like an I-beam. Really like I pull that whole thing together because my cross member actually bolts in from the inside and it pulls it and locks it together as well. So I'm putting a stress pressure internally on all the infrastructure that I put onto it, because I'm trying to, you can't triangulate it, right? Lots of
Right.
times, you're building hot rods, you know what I'm talking about. I just finished a 63 Falcon for a guy, right?
Okay.
But I had to build the whole chassis for it, right? And I'm like, I can't build it without a roll bar. I can't build it. I got to get up, man. I cannot do this. I got no way to hold that thing together. I put a Ford racing motor in it,
Nice.
and a boiler fuel injection, right? But I'm like, if you're not cool with the hoop, I got no way to tie that chassis together. I can't do it. You know what I mean? Otherwise, it's gonna pink,
Right.
And it's funny, and the guy's like a world famous like injury attorney.
Oh,
I'm like, no, this thing has to be a rock star, dude.
Right.
Yeah.
Gotta be right.
But I always say the tires are the relief valves, right?
Yeah,
So
pretty
it can't be that fast.
yeah.
right.
That'll do it. That'll do it.
Yeah, you pick the cheapest thing to break. That way,
Yeah.
that saves.
Break the tires loose.
Yeah.
My cars are designed to break. Absolutely.
Right.
That's back when we were building them. Like I said, when you learn to, you blow up you throw a drive shaft and you get that all fixed. And then then it's into a rear end, and then you get that all fit. And then next thing you know, you're in transmission. Then you realize no. We got to stop because it's getting expensive. We got to have something that's the cheapest thing that breaks, so that we don't keep, you just
Chasing it.
Yeah.
You know, back in the day before I restored my car, street tires and technology is what it was. I mean, I bought this car in 1975. So when I finally was doing it, I brought the rear end to a guy to rebuild. It's 12 bolt. And he called me up. He says, wow, he goes, this is going to be easy. Even though you blew up, the gears are messed up because we're changing all that anyway. He goes, this is the only 12 bolt I've ever done that the axle tubes didn't spin. He goes, I could tell you were never hooking up with this car. A lot of race cars. I was like, no, dude, it was just a street car. I said, but yeah, for sure. I didn't have to worry about it.
Nice.
It's a short
They never
tail,
hook
huh?
up.
Yeah.
So Harry, so I want to get into your custom dashboards and your gadgets, because I'm a gadget guy, and I want to do stuff to the bus. I want to redo my gauges in the bus.
Mhm.
So tell us a little bit about that stuff that you really create. That's really cool.
I really don't build the gauges and stuff so much myself, Lewis. I'm using like Dakota Digital and that kind of stuff. So I use as much off the shelf stuff as I can just because it's simpler, right? And these guys have done a good job. I like the stuff that I do that's weird and different is like, I build a sport mode for a car, right? So I'll take a microcontroller and I'll monitor the vacuum. And when the vacuum drops, I'll run through a microcontroller and I'll use vacuum assisted, like, have you ever seen like a Valvetronic exhaust, right? Have you seen those that shoot right through? I like that sound. It's a good sound because, and I'm not a big crossover guy, like in my exhaust. I know you should, you get more torque. I get it. I'm there, right? But I like the sound, the LS motors that I put in, the supercharged motors, they never really pop very well, but if you make them independent and you don't put a crossover, they sound better, right? So you do that in conjunction with like a Valvetronic, which is a bypass that goes directly through. But it's really cool on the dash. I give people like a sport mode switch, right? So they can put the thing in, they can activate it, and I use a vacuum sensor and relays and a microcontroller, and I'm able to watch the vacuum drop. Boom, open the exhaust. So I do cool stuff like that, or I put like CarPlay technology or lighting and that stuff. But as far as like the gauges and stuff, I haven't really built a lot of the digital interfaces myself. I'm planning on doing some of it. As I move forward, I just can't get to it. I'm trying to do too much other stuff. I've been focusing on heated and cooled seats, in the cars, which is really cool. I make the center consoles, with some of that, some of the unique things to it. My cameras that I use for the front and the rear cameras, that kind of stuff, are off the shelf. It's called Wolfbox. So I'll take their stuff and then I'll modify like mounting points and locations. And I like, rather than just putting a big hanging mirror off the top of it, I'll scan it and 3D print a housing so it looks like a cop mirror in there, right? So I've got a touch screen, a touch light on the bottom for like a map light, and then I hide the GPS module inside of it so it looks like one unit, right? But it's really a Wolfbox gut that I just modified by mounting locations and a housing to put lighting in it and that kind of stuff. So lots of stuff that I make, Lewis, for the specialty stuff is, with the gauges and stuff, I try to stick with, like I use a lot of Dakota Digital stuff. It's been real good for me,
So Henry, on your design, let me ask you, are you old school? So are we cutting up a box of Fruit Loops and making a plan, or are we using a computer and all that stuff? Or
it's all
drawn in your head?
Well, like it starts. I got one of my books right here. Hold on a second. It starts with stuff like this. Like I'll design it or come up with an idea or concepts like this, right? So, this was a door gap tool kit that I actually designed. So when like when you're doing all the body work on the car, right? You want to get the gaps all the same. So this is a 3D printed part and magnets that actually go on the perimeter of the door so you can align it correctly, or this is so you don't have to buy seals. So I do a lot of designing and drawing.
Oh yeah, you did a video
stuff like this, right? Yeah.
Those donuts, you put them in so it replicates the seal. circle,
Right.
close it. That was brilliant.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I call it master gapper set. So lots of stuff starts on a napkin, right? Because I never went to school. I wasn't that smart, right? So schooling was not good. But I got one young man that works for me as an engineer. So I've had 3D printers at my Access since 2008. So I've got 3D printers, lasers, scanners, everything's digitized. So lots of times I'll have like a prototyper. I got one guy that works for me that's my prototyper, right? So I'll draw it, I come up with the idea, and we'll kind of like rough and tumble. Him and I will make a functioning kind of part. And then when I get it close, then I'll have my engineer scan it, replicate it, print it, or I'll use like a lot of companies. So a lot of the parts that I'll make, I use third parties to actually make. Have you seen my firewalls? What I do with the firewalls?
Yeah, the smooth firewalls. Yeah.
Yeah, so the smooth firewalls, a lot of guys like weld in their firewalls. And I was doing that on these Chevelles and they would always warp. There was nothing I could do to actually get that thing in there flat and smooth in some type of timely manner. I'm sitting there with a welder and an air gun and spacing it and a welder and an air gun, trying to make these beautiful flat pails, and I couldn't do it. I'm like, screw this. I'm going to glue this thing in there. Heck with it. You know what I mean? So I came up with the idea to make a template and screw it and stud it, put it through using an 8115 3M product, right? Glue it, clamp it, and you're done. So I don't like make all those individual parts myself. I'll go to a third party manufacturer that'll actually fabricate that stuff for me because it's a lot faster. So if I have outside sources make parts for me, I have to have a digital file to be able to give them, you give them the exact file and they can go ahead and do it. But lots of the stuff really starts, with a napkin. I'm making a part today. I'm like, go get me some 16 gauge material because I'm taking cup holders and I'm putting them. I'm building these heated and cooled seats, right? It's really expensive. It's a pain in the butt to put air conditioning in a lot of these hot rods, right? But I bought that Raptor, I bought that Shelby truck, and I've never had air conditioned seats before. I'm like, dude, this is nice.
Yeah.
And it's a lot easier to do. They only draw 4 amps, 5 amps. There's something called a TED inside of there. There's this little device that I don't know who came out with it first, but you basically run power to it and one side blows out hot and one side blows out cold. There's no compressor. There's no air. It's not the typical refrigerant style that we're used to make our cars cool, right? Okay. It's just 12 volts and it only runs about 4 amps, right? So it's not a high powered thing, but that's what all these guys are using now for heated and cooled seats. So I take that technology, I buy that unit. There's a company called Leather Seats. You can look them up. They make a really good interface that you can actually install because I have an interior shop, right? But, today I was working on a revision to the 68 through 72 Chevelle console, A-body console, but I moved the cup holders that I put from up in front into the back into the cover because now the cover has power has locations for the heated and cooled seats, right? I got to be able to turn them on, make it easy, that kind of stuff. So, I'm always making that first prototype or my hinge set, or I'm trying to look at how to put it together. I'll make it, in a napkin map, a napkin map, and on a napkin, a drawing, a sketch. I'll bring it to the engineer, or my fabricator will work off of a sketch that I'll make them, and he'll bake it, and then we'll put it on there. I'm like, okay, we're close. Let's add some magnets. Let's do this. Let's do that.
I ran into a guy about a year ago at a cruise night. It was 2 years ago, and Firebird convertible, and beautiful car, custom interior, all white, tufted white. But he had a humidor built into his console. And we're both cigar smokers. I was like, oh man, that is like the cat's ass right there.
That would be fun.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
When I was at Harry's shop, he has beautiful cars, a lot of nice cars there. But I was more interested in the little the gadget stuff. I was looking at the 3D printers and that stuff over there. But beautiful work. And
yeah, thanks, man. I got 60 new products that I've basically come out with in the last year.
Wow.
For cars. It's like, some are easy, some are simple. I'm just about to release 66, 67 Chevelle stuff. So I'm working on first I built the firewall kit for it. I built the chassis stiffening kit for it. So as I build each one of the cars, right, and I picked this thing up off of Bring a Trailer when I was a kid. I had a '67 Chevelle, with just dual quad sticking through the hood, and this thing was it was the doppelganger of my car, except it had a BDS blower on it. Right. And it was legit. It was a 383 stroker with a dyno sheet that was like 670 horsepower or something like that on bump gas. It run about 15 pounds of boost. And this thing really, really rips. But I brought it in, I ripped it all apart because I'm, going to make all the different parts for that. Because that way, as I build my car, I'll have all the different parts that other people can build other Chevelles with, whether it's chassis or, door panels or seats or heat and cooled or center console or firewalls, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Nice.
Heck yeah.
So he also has a Chevelle with a Cummins in it that is a.
I do.
Your Cummins.
That's Greta.
Greta.
That's what I nicknamed her. Yeah. Yeah, she's a beast. She rolls coal. She's pretty cool. It's got a Allison transmission behind it. Still running a 12 bolt, and I haven't really stiffened up the chassis like I should, so it really is very dangerous. No. Yeah, that's a hard no. I took it to the racetrack. One of my mechanics, because I was testing some of my other cars. He's like, "Let me drive Greta. Let me drive Greta." I'm like, "Okay, but man, you got to be careful. That thing could literally just come apart on you, right?" He's like, "Oh, let me drive it. Let me drive it." He got so scared at the track. He's coming through the trap at the end at like 85 miles an hour.
Yeah.
He got on the thing a couple times. Like, nope, not doing it. It's too sketchy. The rear end's moving all over. I buckled both the quarter panels, right, from the body flexing on it because it's really not even tied down that good. So that's not a safe car.
So I know it's an unfair question, but do you have a favorite year of Chevelle?
No. I just like the Chevelles. I'm 6'4". I'm a big guy, not as tall as Lewis, but I lean towards the bigger A-body cars just because I'm a bigger guy.
Yeah.
It's hard for me. I built Camaros and a lot of Corvettes and that kind of stuff. It's hard for me to feel comfortable and really to be able to enjoy those cars as much as I want, because when I build a Chevelle, I drop that seat down as low as I possibly can. I modify the seats, even sink them in a little bit lower so I can wear a ball cap in a 67 Chevelle or a 70 Chevelle comfortably, and I got plenty of room. I got my eyes almost dead center out the windshield. So I like the Chevelle. Honestly, they're cool. They're badass. I love the way they look. But, they're also a little bit bigger car, and I'm a bigger guy. So it helps. It kind of just fits me better.
But the real question was supposed to be, Ray, it was on the Tri-5s.
Well, that's
not about anything. I mean,
I
we got to
think
know what's your favorite year of the Tri-5.
So since Terry's not here to ask.
Yeah, since Terry's not here to ask.
I'm a 7 fan.
a 7. Okay.
7,
Yeah.
Okay.
So you just hit on the other sore spot that's in my car, besides the tires, is I put a set of Scat touring seats in the car, and I use their brackets, and the freaking seats are too high. And they told me, we went back and forth, and they said, "Yeah, we've had this complaint before." Basically, to cut to the chase, the guy said, I said to him, "Do you have like engineering drawings of those brackets? Because if I can find another one that'll fit, I'll go for that." And he says, "No, I've been bugging them for engineering drawings for years. They don't have them." So I'm kind of forced to take these brackets apart and shorten the feet. And
That's what we do. We do that all the time.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I just take all the time, right? I like Corbeau seats. I like Recaro seats.
Right.
I'm always modifying that bracket set, and I typically lift the front up and sink the back down as much as possible, because that's the more modern seating style technology. So if you get your ass a little bit lower and you get the front end up a little bit higher, you'll be surprised on how comfortable that car. It feels much more, because a lot of cars feel very flat. You know what I mean? You're sitting in there and it feels like it nose forward compared to newer cars. Newer cars,
Oh yeah,
have
yeah.
more of a rake in the seat itself, right?
So their seats are really nice, and they're bolstered on the sides and on the front, and it's a nice stiff, rigid foam, very planted seat. I have no problem with the seat itself. It's the brackets I had problems with, and the fact they didn't have good customer support. And then I started looking it up on YouTube, and I'm finding everybody's having the same problem. I was like, man, this has to change. They gotta-
Well,
I-
what's funny is you get brackets that people make for like a Chevelle, right? So I buy different ones, and I'm always looking at it. And I'm like, man, these brackets don't fit in this bucket in this car, and they don't fit in that car, and they don't fit in this car. The problem is, so many of these cars have been modified, right? You got a bench seat car modified to a bucket seat. Nobody puts the seat mounts in the same spot. Never.
Yeah.
Never, right? You know.
That's what
Yeah,
they said. They questioned me. They said, "Well, maybe your car was a bench seat car." And you put. I said, "No, it's a bucket seat car. It's it's a bucket seat car." Oh well, maybe the car was hit and someone did a floor pan. I was like, "Look, I've owned this car since '75. It hasn't been hit there. It was hit somewhere else, but the floors are virgin. They're original floors. It hasn't been modified." I mean,
Yeah.
we went through. I said, "Listen, did we go through your hit list yet? Because we're just about done, and now we got to really address the problem that I called about." And then the guy actually started talking brass tacks to me and didn't really have an answer.
I tried to put power seats in the cars, like in the Chevelles and that kind of stuff, but all the power units were so thick that, and so I do heat and cool, right? But then I tried to do heat and cool combined with power seats, but you got that whole fan assembly and stuff that sits underneath that seat. You can't,
Right.
you got to pick your poison, man.
Yeah.
I could do either power seats or the heated and cooled.
And,
So I stick with the heated and cooled.
When I first started
Right.
buying regular cars that had power seats as common, I was like, "Oh my god, I hate this." I'm always like a touch this way or touch that way. It's like, oh, I can go a little bit more here, a little bit more there. Give me a good old mechanical adjustable seat. I'll find a position. I'll be happy. And it's like perfect.
Just leave it.
Yeah, yeah. I'm
Just
fine.
leave it.
Yep.
I'm fine.
Find your
I'm
spot and
fine.
leave it.
Yeah, exactly. The power seats infinitely adjustable. Too much.
It would be. I'll tell you what, it would have been cool if I could have done the power, the 6-way powers with the heated and air conditioned seats, because I can't believe like how nice it is. I just put I built the whole stupid air conditioned seats and I put it in my Chevelle, and they were so uncomfortable.
Oh,
I was like, ugh. And they were gorgeous, I mean, they look beautiful. I did this like beautiful octagon pattern in it. They're leather. They got suede in them. I mean, they were sharp, right? I put it in the car, went to drive it, and I'm like, this thing sucks. So it's like, well, that's how it is, right? The bolsters were too high and they were pushing your legs together.
yeah.
And then we had too much like lumbar in it because of the way I stuffed it. Well, you know how seats are, right? They're, everybody likes something a little bit different, but I had to go completely back to the drawing board. I ordered like piles of foam from a foam manufacturer. Most seats that you guys we're talking about are molded foam. You know what I mean?
Right.
So they injection mold the foam, right? That it's sewed and made for it, right? But I'm not going to injection mold foam, right? That's not going to happen. So, my foam manufacturer, he cuts it he's got 3D cutting ability, so he can shape it. So once I design it, he can cut it and shape it. Yeah. Exactly. He can cut it and shape it, and then I can glue it up and make it similar to it. But I didn't know what like densities of foam to use and stuff. So my general manager that orders all the parts and stuff comes back to me and goes, "This is $1,200 worth of foam."
Wow.
I'm like, I know. I'm not happy about it, right? But I got 2-inch thick, 1-inch thick, half-inch thick, quarter-inch thick, and then I got it in all these different densities, because if I'm going to make it, it's got to feel right on your butt. It's got to feel,
Yeah.
and it's amazing. Like the density of the foams makes a big difference. The weight of the foams makes it all matters. It
So that's
matters a
the other thing.
lot.
The other thing, it was a little bit of an older video you did. If it was a Buick or an Olds, the burgundy car where you did the door panels, and you.
Oh, right.
Whoa.
The F85.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. What that hooked me. That was a really, really cool video.
Yeah, thanks.
Do it in different patterns and look at it and see without committing to the final.
Well, I
build.
printed it, so I digitized it, right? Put it in Photoshop. I digitized what I want to look like, and then I printed those posters at Walgreens, and I sized them exactly to the car, and I put them in the car for the look and the style before I even started one sewing thing.
I see the Walgreens connection here. We're back at Walgreens again.
Well,
right?
you know, but
No,
it works.
that
It
was
gives you,
brilliant.
yeah, it gives you the ability to visualize it, you know,
Yeah.
right in the car. And then you can open the door, you can look at it, you can look how it lays to the dash.
Right.
You know, it's fun. You know, I love that stuff.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, it's neato stuff.
Yeah, that's great. I love all that technology like that.
Yeah, I love being able to do it. You know, it's like, you know, I just love the cars, right?
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not the best mechanic. I got a lot of guys that are really good mechanics that are working for me. I'm always tapping into their knowledge and their resources. You know, like, you know, I understand. I got the ideas, but I got some really good guys that, you know, can walk that cup and wait. You know, I love to weld, but yeah, not so much.
How many
Right?
guys? How many guys do you have working for you, Harry?
I think we have about, there's a total of like maybe 16 or 18 people on payroll right now.
Okay. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
It's a big
I
shop.
mean, they're not all
Yeah.
wrenches. They're not all mechanic, you know.
right.
I got, you know, I got people building parts. I got people shipping orders. I got people building
Yeah.
cars. I got, you know, accounting and customer service, you know,
Sure.
so
Sure.
engineering.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's. Yeah.
He has a recording studio upstairs where he can.
Oh,
I do.
Nice.
I
Nice.
do. I do. I never get up there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Too busy playing with the cars. You know, my real passion though is really just the cars. Honestly, I just love the cars. I love to drive them. I love to build them. I like to play with them. I like to try and come up with stuff. I just love the cars. Have you guys heard of this guy TSS? What's that? That's a paint supplier. Um, it is Total Spray Solutions. The guy's named Tom.
No.
And he makes these like DIY kits for painting cars, right? Now I got a body shop, I got a painter, that kind of stuff. But man, he, you know, and I've been using some House of Colors. And he reached out to me with some really cool stuff, and I just started shooting some of it today. And man, it's got this cool look with this huge flop in it. You know, like I don't want to do candies. I don't know if you guys know about candies or what that's like, but
Yeah.
that's a nightmare, dude. You know, like, you know, I am definitely not qualified to shoot a candy, right? And you certainly can't fix it if you do screw it up. But he's got these colors. I just got like I just shot it today for the first time. It's like a black tinted with a copper base, a
Ooh.
copper fleck base in it. So it's
Right.
got like that, you know, remember 67 on the Chevelles, they had that like Aztec gold, I think it was
Yeah.
called.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Real pretty gold, right? So that was like the color of my 67 Chevelle way back in the day. So I was looking for like a black with like a copper or a gold underneath it. And he shipped me some of his product and I shot it today and bam, wow. Wow.
Nice.
Because like House Colors makes colors that are like they call factory packs that are like they're mock candy. They're not really candy, but they got a good flop to them and they look real nice. So I've been
Right.
shooting those a little bit for people because you can fix them, you can repair them. They're not truly a translucent, carrier, right? Because it's really not truly a candy. But I got this today, man. This colors are like amazing, and this guy is like really sharp. I mean, he's got like these instructions and like what do you QR codes, right? That you like look at it and you know this tip, this pressure, this information, premix this. I mean, it's like it's really like you know like for me shooting a car. You know, I got a hose because I was gonna wet the floor and a box fan, right, with a filter
Yeah.
on it, right? That's painting a car in my old days, but he's like simplified this thing, and I love the color. Tomorrow I'll shoot the body of the car and I'll see what it actually looks like. But I just did the trunk and what else did I do? I just edged out the doors and stuff and put outside. I was like, dang. So I don't know if you guys, if you're looking for colors and creative, he's really like a holistic, you know, this is the sealer, this is what you use, he even shipped me the paint gun to shoot it with.
Oh wow.
You know, yeah, it was very interesting. I've never seen anybody do it like this. And I'll tell you when I'm done with the car, but you know, at first blush, I was like, wow, that looks pretty impressive.
What's the
You know,
name? What's the name?
Total Spray Solutions.
Where are we here?
Total Spray.
Yeah, I haven't come across him. That's cool stuff.
Yeah, it's cool. Take a look at that. Well, I'll show you guys. What it comes out like. We'll see if it. He's like, oh, anybody can paint it. I'm like, well, I'm painting it, so I'm gonna prove it real quick because and it's a heavy metallic. It's got a big flake in it, which it's not like a bass boat, but to me that's like the old vintage cars. What we did, right? That was to have a heavy flake in there. I got my BDS blower and my dual quads chrome sticking through the hood. And I built the chassis for it. I got rack and pinion steering and air conditioning and all that stuff on it. But I wanted to stick old school, because I'm always doing the LT4s and the LS motors. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to build one old school style.
Right.
And
Nothing
so
wrong with that.
but yeah, right. I like it. You kidding me? I
So-
love it.
The you're talking about Aztec Gold. This is the color we just painted my car.
Nice.
It's got metallics and pearls in it. It's I can't now. I'm going to move the picture. Yeah, I can't get any bigger. But yeah,
That's pretty.
I'm a gold fan too. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to show you guys what we'll see if it comes out as good as I think it does initially. Well, it looks good so far, but I'll
Yeah.
tell you if I zebra stripe it or not.
Well, yeah, you got to put on a couple cars and check it out and see. Yeah, you got to.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see because I spent a lot of time. I was a house painter for a while, right? And I painted commercial buildings. So, I've got thousands of hours with a paint gun in my hand. It's just the wrong paint gun.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Airless sprayer.
Yep.
Give me that. I can
Yeah,
shoot the
yeah.
inside of the building very well. Give me a rolling lift and an airless sprayer and a kid hustling paint for me. I can go through that thing real quick. I painted my whole building, but we'll see how it comes through the booth, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It'll be fun.
Cool stuff.
Oh yeah.
Hey, my phone's about to die out on me, guys.
All right. So
Okay,
Harry, I'd like to get in touch with you and get you booked on the radio show one of these Sundays if you're free.
Yeah,
We,
cool. Let's do it.
We broadcast from 12 to 1, so it's right in the middle of the day, just for an hour, and it's so quick you won't even know what happened. Truthfully.
Cool.
So
Well, this is really fun. I really enjoyed this, Lewis. Thanks for inviting
Oh,
me
good.
on. Nice to meet you, Ray and Justin, Brian.
Yeah.
Seriously,
You do
Brian, you're close. Are you local? You Midwest guy?
Me? No, I'm right outside DC.
Okay.
I'm in Silver Spring, Maryland. I'm
Okay.
ground zero. So
Okay. Yeah. Well, Justin, did you say you're a Midwest guy?
Yeah, Saginaw, Michigan.
Okay. Cool. Great town.
Yeah.
I enjoy it.
All right.
So Harry, I tell everybody this that comes on as a guest that you are family and you can come on, just hang out with us anytime. You're always
Cool, man.
welcome. And
Thank you.
we do it
anything you
every
want to
week.
promote, just let us know and we'll
Cool.
get you on.
Cool. It was fun. I really enjoyed it. It's nice to meet you guys.
Oh yeah.
Excellent.
you.
Same here.
Sure. All right,
So
Harry.
Lewis, when you get a chance, send me Harry's info, so I'll get in touch with him offline, and we'll
I
go
will
from
do
there.
that.
That'd be
All
good.
right. Cool.
All right, Harry.
Enjoy the
Okay.
evening, guys. My phone's
Thanks,
gonna
guys.
die. Right. I just didn't want my phone to die and be like, "Hey, where'd he go?"
Yeah,
Heard
got
the
it.
sentence.
Thanks.
All right.
right,
Peace,
sounds
guys.
good,
All right, Harry, thanks.
All right, appreciate it.
See.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Nice. Oh man, that time flew.
Yeah, it's 2 hours almost.
What happens when you're having fun?
Yeah,
Yeah, when you got a guest who's got something to say and isn't afraid to say it, that's
So
that's
I'm
what
gonna go
you
ahead
got.
and shut down too here.
Yeah,
Let's see. Wait a minute, let's put Brian up.
yeah.
So everybody in the chat, thank you for hanging out with us. And if you have any questions, please leave a comment and we'll try to get back to you. And we do this every Thursday night at 9:00 Eastern. So tell all your peoples that we talk about cars. All right, have a good week and we'll see you next Thursday.